thank you very much for meeting me today.
You're welcome.
Can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Jeff Madden, and I'm an actor in Come From Away in Toronto.
When did you first hear about this musical?
First heard about Come From Away a good maybe 4 or 5 years ago at Sheridan College. I live in Oakville, where Sheridan College exists, and in their commercial theater development program, they had this show was, I guess, having a workshop production, 45-minute workshop production, and I was invited to go see it. So I did, because I teach there as well, part-time. And yeah, so that's the first I heard of it, and then ever since then it was kind of like this incredible story of success in Canadian theatre, because we don't often have musicals that go from that to major US theatres to Broadway. So yeah, it's a very well-known show now in among Canadian actors.
What was it like to audition for this show?
Similar to every other kind of show, you have an agent who submits you. They sort of pick a role that they think is most suited to you, and then the producers agree to see you, and then they give you a date and time, and you just show up, and you've learned what it is that they've requested. For every show, it's a little bit different. For this show, I think they wanted us to come in with a little piece from the show and then stuff of our own. So little bits of 3 or 4 different songs of our own. It's always nerve-wracking. What surprised me about auditioning for this show was how quickly they went from the first audition to making casting decisions. That happened in like a week. Normally it's much more spread out than that. And I was lucky enough to get an offer. So.
What was it like learning, all these different accents and geography?
Challenging, really challenging. So the offer I got was to be a standby. So for the first year of the contract, that's what I was doing. I was being a standby, and then after the first year was over, they made me an offer to do a full role. Come on in.
Thank you.
This is our sound technician, and he's just dropping off microphones. The show is going to happen in an hour, so that's what they do. And
thank you.
There'll probably be a couple other people popping by too. So the hardest part of doing the show is that you're not just playing one character. You're playing many characters, so you have to switch from one to the other. And then what makes it even more difficult is that they're all from different places in the world. So one line you're talking like you're a Ganderite, and then literally 5 seconds later you could be speaking like you're from Texas or California or Britain, and then back and forth and back and forth. So that was really, really hard to get into everybody's bodies and into your minds, The other thing that makes it really challenging is that it moves really fast. This show, a lot of musicals have like a longish scene, like a 3-4 minute long scene that ends with a song. And then the next scene begins, and then that ends with another song, right? That's kind of the structure for musicals. Well, not this one, right? So this one is kind of like, it's almost like a movie, like they just, smash cut you from one scene to the next. And you could be in that scene for 20 seconds, and then boom into the next, and then boom into the next. So, and there's music all the way throughout. So yeah, it was far more technically challenging than any other show I had done. The closest that I'd come to it was Jersey Boys, which was another commercial theater that moved quickly from scene to scene, but not this quickly. And in Jersey Boys, I was just playing one character. I was just Frankie throughout, so I had one accent and one way of thinking throughout. Here you have to kind of keep going, so it's a bit crazy.
How do you keep a long-running performance fresh? Both Jersey Boys and Come From Away, it's been for a while.
Yeah, it's really hard. Again, it's really challenging. I think the first thing is you've got to really love what you're doing in the show. You have to really respect your process and the work that you've done. Come on in. Hey-o. He's not here yet.
Oh, jeez. All right.
Wardrobe. So if you love what you're doing, and you love the show, and you love the work that you've done, the personal choices you've made, then you really kind of, a part of you is in the work. So if you have self-respect and you want to do your best work every day, then it's not hard to keep it fresh. I think when it starts slipping away from you is when you stop caring so much about it. And we're lucky with this show and with Jersey Boys, but especially with Come From Away, to be telling a story that is, I don't know, remarkable. Like it's true, and it's kind of shocking, and it's kind of beautiful, and we're playing real people who we've met many times and who did amazing things. And so you have to, you just have to will yourself to go there, For me, it's not that bad because I didn't, like I said, I was a standby for my first year. So in that first year, I didn't go on a lot. I think I went on maybe 50 times total. And it was always for different tracks. So there was no, how do you keep it fresh for me? Because it was always fresh. It was always like being shot out of a cannon when you're asked to go on. If you haven't been on for 3 weeks and all of a sudden you're in, But now that I'm into, month 5, I guess? 5 months of it's starting, there are days, where you feel a little bit less energized or whatever, and you have to force yourself to get back in it. The other thing is that you have to stay super present on stage. And so if you are super present, then I will see little tiny differences that you do on stage with me, and then I can respond to those little tiny differences in little tiny ways that you will see back, and then that you will acknowledge, So even though the lines are coming out the same, and the tempos are all the same, and the notes are sung the same, but there's little tiny little differences. And if you are present, absolutely, alive out there while that's happening, then that can be really fun and thrilling. And before you know it, you're through the show. And you had another good time doing the thing that you've done 500 times, but this time was only slightly little differences. Right? I think that's the key to those, really keeping it fresh.
What was your favorite track as a standby?
So I covered 4 tracks. I covered The Mayor. I covered, the Mayor, Claude's track, Claude and others. I covered Oz, the policeman, and others. I covered both Kevins. And I'm now playing Kevin T. So I kind of think that's my favorite track because I think that's the track that I probably would have got if I was to get one. You know what I mean? But I had a lot of fun going on I went out for Oz the next most. And I had a lot of fun doing him, but his part was really busy. I think he plays 7 different characters, and it's just really busy, but kind of quirky. All the characters are pretty silly or whatever, so I enjoyed that. And then I only went on for the Mayor, I think 3 or 4 times, but after the first time, I really started enjoying that. It's just I'm so physically different than the 2 other guys that play the Mayor in this company. They're twice my size. But I just had to think, well, I'm kind of look like a Justin Trudeau type or whatever. I'm kind of like this just sort of normal-looking, nice guy, I'll just be me, and we'll see how that goes. I only did Kevin J. I think I did 2 performances, but they were on the same day, and I think both of them I was just a nervous wreck the whole time, so I didn't enjoy them. Didn't enjoy them at all. So I don't know if that answers your question, but you have to try to find fun in all of them.
Speaking of fun, I know that on stage left and right you have your own rituals.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me more about it, please.
Yeah. So that's another way of keeping present with everybody. Sometimes in long-running shows it's tricky because you come up here to your dressing room, and then over there's 3 people in another room and 3 people in another room, and sometimes in certain shows you could go through the entire show and never lay eyes on a particular person in the show because they're always on in a different scene than you or whatever. And you could literally be working with them and never see them, which is pretty weird. And then I guess in another circumstance you could have one scene with them that's really important, but if you don't see them until that scene, it can sometimes be a little bit weird because like I don't know what your energy is like today because I haven't seen you yet, you know. So I think with this show, because we're all on stage almost the whole time, I think it's kind of a last chance to just kind of lock in with everybody. I think it came out of at first because the show was very nerve-wracking for the first several performances, because it is so technical and so fast and you're out there the whole time, there's no break, and that it was almost like a needed thing where everyone would tell each other, I've got your back. If anything goes a little bit weird or whatever, I'm going to be there for you and I'll help you get through it. And that helped calm everybody down. So I think both sides started doing that individually, and then we just kept doing it. And now it's just like a fun way of kind of just, some days we acknowledge a milestone, right? Or some days we celebrate someone's birthday, or if there's someone has family member in the audience, we'll say, oh, it's for them today, it's for them. And I don't know, it just kind of keeps everybody on the same page a little bit. I mean, we don't know what they're doing over there on stage right, but on stage left, that's what we do. And when the standby comes in, it's always fun because we invite them in the circle, and we invite the crew into the circle as well. And because we can't do it without them, it just kind of keeps the spirits high, you know?
Do you touch the flags?
Sometimes. It's not a, like I think when I go to the flags, it's usually because I didn't feel like I really connected or something in the previous show. And it helps ground me, it helps remind me of who they are and what they did, you know? But I love that they're there because you can see them even from on stage when you're facing the wing, you can see them, and I think it's great. But yeah, so I don't touch it every show. I think some do. Some actors do every show. I would do probably 2 or 3 a week, probably.
What do you think is the most common misconception about being an actor?
I think that people, I don't know if it's the most common, but a big one is like that it's all parties and that you're going out all night and you're like kind of a crazy partier or whatever, and especially with musicals. But in the theater, man, you're working 6 days a week. Like if you get it, you know, maybe in your 20s you could get away with it, like going out every night. Man, oh man! But the older you get, you got to take care of yourself. Like, it's hard work. The rigor of it, of every single day being physically as close to 100% as you can. You know, and an example of that is when I played Frankie Valli in Jersey Boys. That's one of the hardest parts, if not the hardest part, to play in a musical because of the vocal requirements of it. Frankie had to sing ridiculously high in his falsetto, but like this show, he's on stage almost the entire thing. I think only 8 minutes he's off stage, and you have to sing 25 songs, and it's like every note in your range, and you have to scream in some dramatic scenes, and yell, and swear, and break down and cry. Like, it's exhausting. And I lost like a ton of weight doing it now, unhealthily so. But they said you have to live like a monk, like you literally have to. You can't drink, you can't go out after the show, you have to save your voice, you have to drink enormous amounts of water, you have to do yoga and stay flexible and chill, you know, like super, super, super hard and rigorous. This show is like that in a way, but not so rigorous vocally because of the range. It's in a kind of more speakable, shoutable range. It's like a doable thing. But you still can't go out like party it up, right? So that's a big misconception, I think. I think there's another misconception is that maybe how much money we make. Like, I think that can be one too, and it can vary greatly depending on what show you're doing. You could be playing the lead role in some show in summer stock and barely making $100 a day, and then you can be working here and making much more than that, you know. So I don't think people really understand what it's like. And of course, when you're not working, you're making zero, right? So you have to save an inordinate amount of the money that you make for those periods when you're not working. Whereas another, you know, you could go on EI and you'd be all right for 4 months or something before you found your next job. You know, that's a big difference.
How do you get your voice back quickly if you're sick?
Yeah, getting sick is getting sick. Like, it just is, you know. And you just need to rest. And if that means taking shows off, then you have to take shows off. So you just do the things you do, you know, you take a lot of vitamins and you rest. Now, I mean, for us, because we're in musical theater and we're at sort of the pinnacle of that, we've all had a lot of training, a lot of voice training, so we know how our voice works. We know how to warm it up. We know where to be gentle with it. We know where to push. We have this, steamers. A lot of us will do, you know, really healthy vocal habits where you get into stuff like that. But yeah, if you have to take 3-4 days off, you just have to do it, you know? And the theaters expect that. That's why they have standbys, because they know it's going to happen. And when in a close show like this where there's kissing and a lot of handshaking, you know, it's easy for germs to go from you to me, and when you get it, you get it. So yeah, maybe for us, we can get our voices back in 3 or 4 days rather than a week like somebody else, but it still takes its toll.
We have 9 minutes left. Is there anything you would like to talk about? And
Well, then ask me more questions about 9/11 or about stuff that, I don't know, that you are interested in. I don't know, I wouldn't even know how to describe folklore, but
it's about everyday stuff, the things that we care about in our daily life, you know, like traditions, beliefs, like what we eat, like food waste, you know, like
yeah.
it's very broad.
Yeah, and especially in Newfoundland, there's like a whole, that's like totally different than anywhere else.
Yes.
So that's really cool. And I think the show does a really nice job of writing about that, like sort of opening up the door or the window to the for an audience. Because let's face it, I mean, we know Newfoundland, they talk a little different. It's out on the coast, so there's probably a lot of fishing and stuff. But other than that, like, what do we know about them? Nothing. But the show does a nice job of like dropping in references about food, you know, cod au gratin and, you know, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I had never had that before. I went out there, and same thing with the music, right? Like the ugly stick, right? Like that, they don't talk about it. They mention it, and the guy is playing it. So you assume, you know, oh, I guess that must be a traditional part of their culture, and of course it is. And the drum, the Boron drum, and the fiddle music and all that, like, it's really cool the way they were able to weave that throughout the show, you know? No Broadway musical sounds like this. And I think that's really cool. And one of the things I love about being an actor is that you study a time and a place with every show, you know? If you're doing Jersey Boys, you study the 60s and 70s, and most of it happens in and around New Jersey, and I mean, it might happen in other cities and stuff, but you gotta know what life was like for, you know, blue-collar poor people in rough and tumble cities, and, you know, it allows you a window into that world, and it's like, wow, it's fascinating. So every show you do is like that, and this is really cool too. And the fact that we got to meet these people and hang out with them, and get to see how they act and interact, and how they just take care of each other. One of the things our creative team told us when we were learning the show was to survive in Newfoundland. You know, when you immigrate there, let's say it's, you know, there's snow 6 months of the year, 8 months of the year, sometimes it's really bad weather. You're not gonna necessarily be able to make it on your own, so you need your neighbors to help you survive, literally. And so taking care of one another in a circumstance like 9/11 is just second nature for them, right? Whereas, you know, if that had happened here in Toronto, it wouldn't be second nature. It wouldn't happen. People wouldn't do that. People would like lock their doors and pull down their blinds because they'd be just afraid, which is crazy, you know? Maybe in small towns, there might be a few, but I'm not saying like the whole community the whole city of Toronto wouldn't get behind it like that, which is really kind of neat, you know? Anything else? Yeah.
The last question?
Sure.
Why musical theater?
For me?
Yeah.
It's a good question. I fell into it, but I come from a musical family, so in both sides of my family there are musicians, professional and amateur, but both of high quality, and so I had a talent for music. And for me, the question going through school was whether I should become a musician or not. And I even went to university and got a science degree because the answer was not. But when I was at university, I missed the music. I missed performing. I was in bands all throughout. You know, it just literally, I saw a sign up to audition for a musical where I knew I'd be singing and there'd be music in it, and I liked the music, and I thought, yeah, sure, I'll go do that, you know, for a new experience. And that led to several other shows that were like that, and then after a few years I started being told by some of the people that I was doing this with that, you know, I might have, quote unquote, what it takes to do it, and then I started getting more serious about researching the field, what it's like to be an actor, and getting training, getting like acting training, singing training, dancing training, realizing that the dancing training, I should just leave it aside and just stick with the acting and singing so that I would have a better chance of getting work. And but I just felt like it suited my personality, it suited my voice, it suited, like, the singing in musicals suited my voice better than singing rock and roll. And I felt I could just tap into something inside of me, my soul, you know, my emotional life, my sensitivity, my unique way of seeing the world and feeling things. And I found acting to be a really rewarding thing. So when you could marry the singing and the musicality that I had with this new love of acting, I was hooked. Because there was nothing that could make me feel like I could do that was special. And so I've been doing it for 22 years, pretty much. And I started teaching 5 years ago, a little bit on the side, too. And I just love it. That's where I was before this interview. I was teaching a student who asked for some coaching. And yeah. So it's amazing. You know, musicals, like, they make people feel, you know, they just go straight for the heart, and they make people think, and hopefully they change perceptions even there. But yeah, it's great. I love it.
What was the first musical that made you really feel something?
I think I want to say West Side Story. Watching the movie of that musical when I was a teenager, I think I probably cried, and I was like, wow, I'm a 17-year-old boy, and I play baseball, and I hang out with sports guys, and here I am crying at whoa, something's going on there, you know? And then Phantom of the Opera and Les Mis, when I saw those shows, because we didn't live in Toronto until they became really successful, and so when I saw them, I was like floored by them. And then when I saw the musical Ragtime, I knew that I had to do it. That was right around the time when I had those musical experiences myself. Ragtime probably was like 8 years after Phantom and Les Mis, right? But when I saw that show, I was like, okay, I'm in. I don't know.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
This is the end of the interview.
You're welcome.